Ladies and gentlemen, Sharmeen Ubaid Chinoy.
Thank you, Vice-Chancellor, Rector, members of the Board of Trustees, the faculty, parents, and the class of 2012. Congratulations! You are now officially the graduates of the best educational institution in Pakistan. And today, it's all about you. Thank you for bestowing this honor on me. I have now officially had my 14th sleepless night. I mumbled bits of my convocation speech at the gym, on my flight, to co-workers in my office, and to myself before I went to sleep, anxious and nervous about what to say. In the process, I found myself wondering how I had managed to reach a point in my life where I was giving convocation speeches rather than listening to them. Trust me, I am in unfamiliar territory. In 2002, I was sitting exactly where you are today, a senior at college, dying in the heat, excited for my diploma to be handed over to me, and fighting back tears. I knew life was never going to be the same again. I was officially an adult. Now that I have crossed the bridge and I'm perched quite firmly on the other side, let me tell you, the years spent at college are probably the most enriching phase of your life. You enter the gates filled with excitement, but also hope and trepidation. Those are probably hazy days for you now. You were undoubtedly ragged. I'm sure many of you boys were made to sing and dance like girls. It's a wonderful coming-of-age experience. You eat bad food, they think you don't notice that they reserve the same dish in 3 different colors, passing them off as Chinese. But you do. You stumble out of bed into class, hoping no one notices that you have a red sock on one foot and a black on the other. You procrastinate like it's your job. But once you're done stressing about papers and finals, you realize just how special this experience is. Whether it's the academics or the everlasting friendships that you make along the way, for each one of you, LUMS is now part of your DNA. And you will look back with fondness at these years as you move ahead in life. I know I found my voice at college. I remember staging protest rallies against the sanctions in Iraq, wearing Free Palestine t-shirts, and leading sit-ins on campus. That feeling of being young and invincible and ready to change the world, that feeling is special. Hold on to it tightly, because the world around us has a way of effacing that feeling. And often, you are left thinking that you can't take on the world. But I am here to tell you, yes, you can. Today, you leave a different person. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. And as you walk out of the gates, you should know that you have big shoes to fill. Your predecessors are the business leaders of this country. They have launched companies, headed multinationals, and banks, and developed sophisticated technology. What lies in store for you? A job is a natural next step, but so is following your dreams. When your job is not your work, but your passion. When your eyes open even before the alarm rings, and there's a spring in your step, then success is inevitable. All too often, we give up on our dreams. Sometimes it seems unrealistic, closer to impossible, but those are the best type of jobs to go after. I was always stubborn about following my dreams. and I was determined to work in the field of journalism. At the age of 14, I started writing for local newspapers. By the time I was 17, I was going undercover to do investigative journalism stories. At the age of 20, I wrote a piece for a leading English language newspaper in Pakistan titled Party to a Crime. I had gone undercover to speak to teenagers that were being harassed, tortured, and kidnapped by armed sons of feudal lords in Karachi. The piece appeared in print on the morning of Bakra Eid. My father was on his way to Eid prayers and came racing back. My name had been spray painted with profanities across several neighborhoods. The boys wanted to teach me a lesson and embarrass my family. My father was a strict man of tradition. I'm the eldest of 6 children, 5 of them girls. There was a line you never crossed. I thought that day my career was over even before it started. But he stood there and said, "If you speak the truth, I will stand with you, and so will the world." He then got a group of his colleagues together, arranged for buckets of paint, and whitewashed the graffiti out. Parents don't often realize the impact their words and deeds have on their children. With that single phrase on that hot sunny day, as most Bakra Eids are, my father changed the way I saw the world. I felt it was almost my duty to stir things up. Life has many lessons, so here goes. Lesson number 1, speak out. I know some of you have been doing just that inside LUMS. A strike against the price hike at PDC is commendable. Even if you didn't end up victorious, in the end, you did speak out. My father often said he went to the school of hard knocks, the school of real life, rather than a full-fledged university. And now you're about to enter that world. Many doors will close on you. There will be despondency, and you will feel like giving up. But remember, if a door has not opened for you, it's because you have not knocked on it hard enough. I was 22 when I graduated from Smith College in the US, determined to become a documentary filmmaker, armed with an economics and political science degree, because that's what you apparently need to be a filmmaker. I was adamant that film was my life's calling. So I wrote a proposal and sent it to 80 channels and production houses in the US. Then I waited. I remember that first rejection letter came through. I felt my heart breaking. I fought back tears, but with each letter, I became even more determined that I had to do this. Some responses were of awe. A 22-year-old woman with a Pakistani passport and no film background wanted a grant to fund a film in Pakistan. One day, after most of the responses had come through, I found the email address of the president of New York Times Television on the internet and sent him an unsolicited email. He responded within 15 minutes and invited me to come to New York to give a presentation. I bought my first business suit, hopped on a train. Within a few weeks, I had the promise of a small grant to make my first film about the lives of 7 Afghan refugee children in Pakistan. The film went on to be nominated for several awards, including the Overseas Press Club Award, where it competed against seasoned journalists and won. Lesson number 2, never take no for an answer. Always put in your best and persist, but know that even at the best of times, you will encounter failure. I know the fact that you are graduating from LUMS means that you're not well acquainted with failure. I was always afraid to embrace it. I know on a day when we're meant to talk and celebrate your achievements, we must not talk about failure. But I think once you learn how to embrace it, you are one step closer to success. My earliest recollection of failure is literal failure in an exam when I was in school. Even then, as a 9-year-old, I knew failure and I were not good friends. I avoided it like the plague. I didn't want to admit defeat, so I found creative ways to mask the fact that I had failed. So in 2007, when failure stared at me right in the face, I was dumbfounded. I had spent the better part of that year convincing CNN to do a story about the plight of women in Afghanistan since the invasion. I traversed the landscape of Afghanistan and found courageous women who spoke about their lives at home, their hopes and their dreams, and their struggle for a better tomorrow for their daughters. In Herat, I met a young man whose sister, Nadia Anjuman, had been murdered by her husband. Nadia was a poet. Her writings still haunt me. Let me read something that she wrote for you. I was born for nothingness. My mouth should be sealed. Oh, my heart, you know it is spring and time to celebrate. What should I do with the trapped wing which does not let me fly? I tracked down Nadia's husband and conducted his first ever interview in which it became clear that he was guilty. I promised Nadia's brother his sister would get justice, that once the film would come out, his brother-in-law would get what he deserved, jail time. But I failed him. Nadia's husband still walks free today. For a long time, I tried to forget that promise, but guilt has a funny way of creeping up on you. That year was a difficult year for me. Unfulfilled promises and realistic expectations played games with my mind. But it was only when Nadia's brother wrote to me, saying that my efforts had restored his faith in humanity, that I understood this next important lesson. Lesson number 3, failure should be embraced. Even when you do not successfully reach your goal, there is someone out there who appreciates your efforts, and more importantly, you must appreciate your own efforts. One day you will realize that it is the past failure that made you push harder to be where you are today. Perhaps it was my inability to bring justice to Nadia's case that makes me persevere to bring justice to others. On February 26, 2012, as I walked down the red carpet, proud to represent Pakistan on the global stage, I remember people asking me, how does it feel to be here at the Academy Awards? It's like a dream, I wanted to scream out. A woman from a developing country, a country with no film institutions or a film industry to speak of, walking the red carpet amongst the best filmmakers in the world. That is a dream, not just for myself, but for all those filmmakers who think they cannot make it to the international stage because it's just not possible. That day is a testament that everyone has the right to dream. It helps put your goals into perspective and enhances your creativity. Do I remember that moment when my name was called out, or the moment when I walked on stage? Yes, probably forever. But none of that would have been possible if I did not dream. Each time I look at the golden statue, I think of the next lesson. Lesson number 4, dare to dream. A few weeks ago, in a summer camp I helped run at a low-income school in Karachi, a teacher asked the students to draw out their dreams on paper. 75% of children stared back, bewildered. It turns out no one had ever asked them about their dreams. I'd like for you to hear the words of a man, Afaq Rizvi, taken from the oral history project of the non-profit Citizens Archive of Pakistan, the aim of which is to record the memories of the very first Pakistanis. He says, "When I got off the train and saw Pakistan for the first time, I saw the flag. I was so overtaken with emotion that I broke the line, ran across no man's land, and hugged a stranger standing there. I was home." Take a moment to reflect on the haunting differences between those two scenarios. In 1947, the dream that our founding fathers had envisioned for this land became a reality. Today, the very citizens of this land dare not dream. But as a nation, we must dream, and we must dream big. The National Outreach Program, I'm proud to say, at LUMS is one such dream. I feel it provides opportunity to bright and talented students who are unable to meet the fee requirements. That would not have been possible without the help of LUMS donors who generously donated. LUMS has dared to dream big, big for 464 families across this country. This is only the beginning of a journey that I hope will create an educated and prosperous Pakistan. As the future leaders of Pakistan, we look to you to amend the oversights of our past leaders and stride forth. Today, Act 1 of your life has come to an end. As the curtain rises for Act 2, make sure that you weigh your decisions carefully. With a weak economy and political instability, I know the thought of leaving Pakistan has crossed your minds. While you must travel and learn about the world, if you get the opportunity, Pakistan needs you. So do come back. In Pakistan, everyone is guilty of stereotyping. Stereotyping about that girl from Karachi or that boy from Quetta. We judge people on what they wear, their accents, what communities they belong to. But I sincerely hope that as you were forced at LUMS to form study groups and cram for exams, or when you took trips with the LUMS Adventure Society, or competed for that last spot in the common room, you realized that you are all the same. That the ethnic and religious differences that plague Pakistan melt inside the four walls of LUMS. You are all here for the very same reasons. You want to make something of yourself, and for many, you want to make something of your country. It is your responsibility as Pakistan's finest to direct your talent towards the progress of this country. Treat your future co-workers with the same respect that you treated your fellow Luminites. And then someday, your subordinates as you head your own organizations. Extend the commune as you share with your graduating class with the wider Pakistan. They do need you. So on this day, as you step forward into the real world, please take with you some of my life's lessons. Speak out, don't take no for an answer, embrace failure, and dare to dream. Congratulations, class of 2012. Welcome to Act 2 of Life's Play. Thank you.